Hi, hello, good afternoon. This is just a quick video. Now, it's been over 2 weeks since my personal independent payments has stopped. Now, one of the questions that somebody asked me was, what do I use my money for that I get from the government? Well, to be honest, that's really nobody's business other than between me and the government as to what I use that money for. But one of the things I do use it for, which I'm more than happy to mention on my videos, is travel to and from the hospital. Now, anyone who obviously knows me well will know that the hospital from where I live, if I didn't have arthritis or bile acid malabsorption, which are the two illnesses that I suffer with the most, then theoretically the hospital is within walking distance from where I live. It would probably take me an hour to walk there and an hour to walk home, which I have done in the past before I got sicker than what I am now. So in the past, when obviously I've been to the hospital for other things in the past, I have walked that journey. I know that journey very well. But because I couldn't spare any money that I would have got from the government to pay for a taxi home and back again, I have had to be dependent on public transport. So my appointment this morning was at 11 o'clock. You allow yourself an hour on public transport to get there. So I left at 10, got there for 11. It literally took me from 10 o'clock in the morning till 11 o'clock to get to the hospital from my house by bus. Because it wasn't just one bus, I had to catch 2 buses, and then I got to the hospital and nobody even knew what department I was supposed to be at, including myself. I had to have a nurse take me to my appointment. There was a half an hour wait, which is fine because I'm used to it being a half an hour wait to have a hospital appointment. They filled in all the forms for me, which is as standard for me to have my medical operation next week. And then obviously they ask you the usual questions. Who do you live with? What medication are you on? What illness and disabilities do you have? If there happens to be an issue, who's your next of kin? If you have to stay in overnight, who will look after your children? Who could look after you for 24 hours after you've had the procedure? And I managed to get through all of those questions, finished my appointment, went to the chapel at the hospital, lit some candles for my loved ones, and then I met my sister who works at the hospital for a cup of tea, and then went to A&E to get some medication that should have been prescribed to me by my GP, but wasn't. And I was in and out of there like a flash, which was great. And then home via the chemist to get my medication. So it has literally taken me from 10 o'clock this morning till now, which is, I think it's just after 3 in the afternoon, to go to a hospital appointment that takes half an hour. Even if I hadn't have had to pick up any medication from my pharmacist, I probably may have got home a little bit earlier. say 2:30, but no earlier than that. So when people are criticising people for having to take time off work to go to hospital appointments or doctor's appointments or whatever, every time I had to take time off work to go to a medical appointment, it would be an entire day that I would lose money for. So would I rather be at work or be in a hospital? You know, I mean, every hospital appointment, every GP appointment that I've ever had, I've probably lost somewhere within a region of anything between £30 to £100 in a day's wages, depending upon which job I was actually supposed to have done on those days. So I'm there again tomorrow for more tests. I'm there again next week for more tests. So already, if I was working full time, like I would have been before I was basically told I was not fit for work last year, 2021, is when I finally got told that I could claim personal independent payments to support me with loss of earnings. So just in those 3 appointments that I have got over the next, like tomorrow and then again next week, which would then mean I wouldn't be fit for work on Friday, I probably won't realistically even be able to do anything until maybe Wednesday of next week. So I would literally, for a day procedure, which I'm having, I'd have to take a week off work. So already I would have lost, say I was being paid £100 a day, it's easier for me to work that out. I've lost £500 in wages, just like that, because I'm not working, because I'm in hospital. And I'm not there overnight. I do get to come home in the evenings, but straight away, that is £500 that I've lost. And that is this month alone, if you class today and tomorrow as being the following month. And for me, this is nothing. I used to literally have days where I would probably be in hospital for 5 to 7 days a week. Literally, I'd come home from work and I would literally just go straight to the hospital. And every time I went to the hospital, they would say, "You're fine, you're fine, you're fine, go home, there's nothing wrong with you." Only for me to be back in again 3 days later. And this has been something that I have had to live with from the age of 14. So from the age of 14, my health started to deteriorate quite rapidly. And I would be extremely lucky if for 1 week out of every single month, I did not have to go to the doctors, or I didn't have to go to the hospital, or I didn't have to go to the pharmacist to get treatment. And as I've shared some information about people living with bile acid malabsorption, it just goes to show how easily this disability is mismanaged and misdiagnosed. As one of the ladies that I managed to find online, who I'm now following, she had the same condition as me from the age of 14. She was not diagnosed until she was 27. I wasn't diagnosed until I was 37. And it is so mentally and physically exhausting to have to live with a condition which is so easily dismissed and so easily mismanaged. And, and the attitude of my employers was absolutely disgusting. Their attitude was like most people's, well, if you're that ill, your doctor would sign you off for work. You wouldn't be working. And it's like, okay, being signed off is one thing, but being able to get support financially from the government, that is a whole different ballgame. Anyone with a good enough and sympathetic doctor might be able to get what they call a fit note. They don't call them sick notes, they call them fit notes. And I used to say to my doctor, I work in hospitality and catering. That is one of my main jobs that I do when I'm not teaching. I cannot go to work today. I've got an upper respiratory tract infection. I have had chronic sickness and diarrhea now for the last 24 hours. I cannot work. And my employer is telling me, sorry, pardon me, I'm in the bathroom, that I need to come to work unless I've got a fit note. And even he would say, but you've got sickness and diarrhea. You work in hospitality and catering. I don't need to provide you with a sick note or a fit note for sickness and diarrhea. What do they want you to do? Take your diarrhea in a bag? And literally, I would have to take kaolin and morphine, the Paramide, anything I could basically to stop me from shitting myself. And then the day that I finished my shift, I would come home with severe constipation. And then once that had sort of sorted itself out, I would be in my office. Not this one. This is obviously somewhere else that I'm currently living. It would be a different one. And I did that from the age of 14. And I was begging and pleading with my doctor, telling them that I can't do this anymore. I cannot keep taking anti-dietary and diarrhea and anti-sickness medication every single day just so that I can go to work. That is not normal. And people would say to me, but you're working hospitality and catering. How do you know you've not got food poisoning? How do you know you haven't got this? How do you know you haven't got that? And I used to say, because I've been tested. I haven't got food poisoning. This isn't what's wrong with me. Maybe it's something you've eaten. And I said, look, I've had this problem since I was 14. And I don't know what it is, but it's not food poisoning. It's not from something I've ate. And once I was formally diagnosed with bile acid malabsorption, I then knew that without the right treatment, without the right support from the NHS, that there was no hope for me. And to add insult to injury, what has now happened is my skin has been having these lesions on it, which I have shown on previous videos. I was given a course of antibiotics last week, and all that does for me is just cause me severe constipation. It doesn't do anything else. And here are my legs today. Now, my legs have been like that now for over 18 weeks, give or take. My golden rule is if they are like that for more than 6 weeks, 8 weeks at a push, I will seek medical assistance. The thing that has been annoying me the most this time round with these pus-filled lumps that I get on my legs that then it kind of like explode on their own. I don't need to touch them or anything. Over a few days, they'll start to weep and like release fluid themselves on their own. Is they are so itchy. And the doctors have said, oh, they're bites. Oh, they're heat lumps. I've had the same thing happen in A&E. I've had the same thing happen to me at the pharmacist. And I'm saying, no, 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 they are not heat lumps. They are not bites. They are not ingrown hairs. they have got to be something to do with my bile acid malabsorption. And the only thing that I still haven't had tested yet at the moment is my liver and my spleen. And so, touch wood, if all of my if all of my test results come back next week as being normal, and they're going to say to me, yep, you're fine, you don't have bowel cancer. And I'm going to be like, oh, thank God for that. You know, if there is a God, or thank the gods, or thank somebody up wherever that it's not bowel cancer. Okay, where do we go from here? Are you going to send me back to dermatology? Are you going to check my other vital organs? Because to be in constant pain 24/7, to have skin that all I literally want to do is just rip off. I've said it to people before, if I could dip my body into a vat of acid, I know that sounds really, really severe, and it would literally just remove the first top layer of my skin without permanently damaging me, I would do it. If I could get a knife and literally cut my skin off down to where the infection is, and then bandage up my legs in the hope that whatever's wrong with me would just disappear, I would do it. But I can't, because it's my blood that is the problem. What is wrong with me, and I'm still waiting for a proper formal diagnosis of this, is it's an autoimmune disorder. My body produces too many white blood cells, too many platelets. So when I do have an infection, my body is kind of trying to fight off the infection, but at the same time, it's working overtime. And it doesn't really work. All that's happening in these areas is the white blood cells are obviously congregating in those areas to fight the infection, which is obviously becomes systemic now. It's in my system. It's not, oh, you know, it's a bite, you know, let's put some cream on and it'll get better within like a few weeks. It's internal. Which is why around the outside, it's the fluid and the infection have kind of not spiderwebbed as such, but it's spread under the skin. And at the moment, I am quite lucky. It hasn't turned to sepsis because I'm not showing any symptoms of septicemia, which is brilliant. But I am not healing. And then where I have healed is where all the scars are. So I can't do anything with my legs at the moment at all. I can't. Somebody said, oh, get a razor blade, shave your legs. You know, you're like a hairy beast or something on one of the comments. And it's like, yeah, my legs are infected. I'm not exactly going to start like trying to remove hairs or pluck them or wax them or imac them. The only thing I can do is they've given me some steroid cream to try this time round. And if that doesn't work, push for my GP to send me to dermatology. In the meantime, the only thing that kind of helps me with my legs not feeling so inflamed and itchy and in pain is like cold compresses on my legs and on my arms. So the only thing I can do really is do what I'm doing, and that is try and keep mobile, try and keep my circulation going, monitor the infection, take photographs, make sure that the infection hasn't sort of got worse. And at the moment it's kind of, I guess, maintained is the word they might use, or, you know, it is where it is. And then just basically keep phoning up my doctor every single morning at 8:00 and say, look, you know, I need to go and see someone from dermatology. I need to see a dermatologist. And all they will say is what they've said before. Whilst I'm still being investigated under the hospital for other health problems, they will not treat me. They will not treat me. They will not see me. So basically what they're telling me is I have basically just got to grin and bear the fact that my legs feel like they're on fire 24/7 until I get signed off from one department to be signed on to another, even though realistically both departments need to work in partnership because my health condition covers more than one part of my body, and the signs that obviously my health and the condition I've got has deteriorated and obviously got worse is clearly apparent to me, even though I'm not a doctor, because of the state of my legs, and my arms aren't as bad, which is good. But if it does continue to spread further, then I'm going to have to say, look, you cannot just keep saying I'm fine, because it's obvious that something is wrong and it needs to be addressed sooner rather than later. So again, if anyone thinks that they might be suffering from things like septicemia, they're always talking about blood poisoning online, and it's even in the hospitals when you walk in and stuff. Do not be dismissive. One of the signs of septicemia apparently is it can give you like flu-like symptoms, and I've not had any of those yet, which is brilliant. I don't want to. The only thing obviously I've got at the moment is flared up, irritated, inflamed, open sores on my skin. But if anything else was to obviously manifest from that, then I need to go back to the hospital straight away. And I know you might not want to go because you don't want to feel silly or stupid. Blood poisoning is serious. Okay? And it needs to be taken seriously as well. So I will talk a little bit more about the procedure that I will be undergoing next week. But that is going to be primarily linked to bile acid malabsorption. Again, I'm painstakingly trying to get all my letters submitted to the Department of Work and Pensions to prove that I have these ongoing hospital appointments. And how, again, my disability is affecting me on a daily basis. So with my legs, they're at the point where they're just so painful 24/7. And I have to keep trying to keep them clean, keep them fresh, keep all these wounds clean and try and avoid further infection. And obviously with my bile acid malabsorption, as of today, I have basically got to cut out so much food out of my diet over the next 7 days. There are things I'm not allowed to eat. And then I have medication that I have to take 24 hours and then 7 hours before my procedure. So I will talk about that. And believe me, it is not something people are just going to line up and queue up to volunteer to have done to them, especially when you're told you have to do it without any anesthesia. So, but I will talk more about that next week. So if you have any questions or queries, please don't hesitate to message me. But again, anyone who is being abusive, your comments will be removed. Thank you.